6 months, just 6 months.
Yeah.
That's all the time between the final divorce decree, the one that ended that whole horrific family vlogging saga.
What everyone was talking about.
Exactly. And then this new photo pops up. A ring, a big smile, and this very, very public promise of a brand new start.
A fresh start announced while the ink was barely dry, and the world was still, frankly, reeling from the details of the abuse.
Welcome to Starscope Report.
We're the show that digs into all that Hollywood drama, the music industry buzz, and yeah, those viral influencer scandals that just capture everyone's attention. Red carpets, social media meltdowns. We get into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we are definitely getting into it. We're unpacking the massive reaction to Kevin Franke's engagement announcement. His fiancée is Becca Bevan.
Right, and he's really pushing this narrative, calling it a triumphant new beginning, a story about resilience.
What? And this is the unavoidable part. You just can't look at this engagement without seeing the shadow behind it. His ex-wife, Ruby Franke.
Serving up to 30 years. 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Yeah.
It's a horrific backdrop. There's no other word for it.
So this isn't just about someone getting engaged quickly after a divorce. It's really about who gets to control the story here.
Totally. Kevin's trying hard to frame this as his personal redemption story. But the public, they keep pulling it back to questions of complicity, maybe even abandonment. It's a real tug of war over the narrative.
Okay, so let's break down the timeline and how he presented it. Kevin Franke, he's 46, announced the engagement early October 2025, public Facebook post.
And the speed, like you said. Wedding planned for November 14th. That's just weeks later.
Yeah.
In Springville, Utah. Super fast.
And that public statement he made, he's very deliberate, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He wrote, "Redemption is a real thing." Talked about a time he didn't think I would ever feel happiness or the warm embrace of a loving partner again. That's the headline he wants. Clean, positive, forward-looking.
But that attempt at a clean slate, it didn't land well at all. And to get why, we really need to quickly remember the whole 8 passengers thing.
Right, the empire they built. Launched back in 2015, 6 kids, 2.5 million subscribers at their peak.
It was the poster child for sharenting, maybe toxic sharenting.
Yeah.
And the money, potentially pulling in, up to $100,000 a month?
Yeah, huge numbers. But that fame, that income, it kind of masked what was going on for years. Escalating patterns of really concerning behavior.
And those early red flags, they weren't hidden. They were broadcast, framed as just strict parenting.
Exactly. Like, remember in 2020, their son Chad, he was 15 then, forced to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months as a punishment.
7 months, it's staggering. Or their daughter Eve, only 6, being denied lunch she forgot at home. And Ruby actually saying on camera, the natural outcome is she is just going to be hungry.
Yeah, that was the baseline. That was the philosophy they shared and monetized. The really severe criminal stuff, though, that seems to have escalated dramatically after Ruby stopped the vlog in 2022.
Right, when she fully teamed up with Jodi Hildebrandt and the whole Connections classroom thing, that's when it shifted towards extreme isolation, this really rigid, controlling ideology.
And that's where we move from disturbing parenting choices to actual criminal acts. The severe abuse the court documents detail happened between May and August 2023 at Hildebrandt's house.
The documents state it was rooted in religious extremism, this belief that the children were evil and possessed.
And the details, I mean, they're crucial to understand why people are so horrified and why this engagement feels jarring. The kids were kept in what was described as a work camp-like setting.
Denied enough food and water, bound with rope, with handcuffs.
And when they got wounds from the bindings, treating them with cayenne pepper and honey, it's medieval. It's torture.
That nightmare finally broke on August 30th, 2023. The 12-year-old son, emaciated, duct tape on his wounds, he escaped, ran to a neighbor, begged for help.
That's the context. That's the history Kevin Franke is trying to put behind him with his fast engagement and talk of redemption.
Which immediately raises the question he probably doesn't want asked. Redemption from what exactly?
Right. Is it redemption like healing from the trauma his family suffered? Or is it redemption like taking accountability for his own role? His own failures to protect him. The public's asking for the latter.
Okay, let's dig into his defense, because he does have one. He positions himself not as someone who enabled this, but more like another victim of Jodi Hildebrandt's manipulation.
Yeah, the main pillars of his story are separation and ignorance. His team emphasizes he'd moved out.
September 2022, so a full year before the arrests. He says Ruby insisted he leave, claiming his attitude was infesting the family.
So the argument goes, he wasn't there for the worst of it. that the really extreme physical abuse, the criminal stuff, was hidden from him and only ramped up after he was out of the house.
He's trying to create distance. And he's taken some concrete steps, too, right?
Right.
Like legal action against Hildebrandt.
Yes, he filed a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And he's become this public advocate in Utah, pushing for new laws to protect child influencers, which is ironic given his past.
He even publicly said, "Vlogging my family was wrong, and I regret it every day." It's a performance of penance, in a way.
But here's where the public pushback gets really strong. The paradox of the parent. How can someone with his background, I mean, he has a PhD, right? An engineering background.
Yeah.
How can he plausibly claim he was just a powerless pawn?
Yeah.
That he had no idea how bad things were getting for his own kids?
It's a big ask for people to believe that. The criticism you see online often uses terms like passive willful blindness.
Meaning he chose not to see. Because
Yeah.
confronting Ruby and Jodi was too hard, or maybe threatened the lifestyle.
But that's the implication, that it was easier to look away. And his main defense of separation actually fuels the biggest criticism against him.
Which is abandonment.
Yeah.
People argue his primary job was protecting those kids,
Yeah.
leaving them in that situation with Hildebrandt's influence growing. Many see that as the ultimate failure, a dereliction of duty.
You see comments everywhere online calling him a deadbeat dad, saying he left them when they needed him most.
And then there's the emotional piece. His statement, even after all the horrific details came out, that he truly did and still do love her, meaning Ruby.
Oof. Yeah, that landed badly.
Really badly. For a lot of people, it signals his priorities are still skewed, whereas the rage, the protective fury on behalf of his children who went through hell, seems missing.
So this engagement, this triumph, gets interpreted by many as, well, as a rushed attempt to skip the hard part, to jump to the happy ending without fully reckoning with his own part in the story.
And it's important to see this isn't happening in a vacuum for the family. Kevin got full custody of the 4 younger kids. They're getting mental health treatment, thankfully.
But the whole family is sort of rebuilding publicly. There are actually 3 weddings being planned.
Right. Sherry, the eldest daughter, she got engaged back in December 2023.
And Chad, the eldest son, the one who slept on the beanbag, he announced his engagement in June 2025.
But compare Kevin's approach to, say, Sherry's. It's fascinating. Kevin is going public. Documentaries, posts, seeking that public validation for his fresh start.
Sherry did the exact opposite, complete 180. When she announced her engagement, she basically said, "I'm done with the public eye, permanently."
Her words were powerful. Something like, "I've had my voice and agency taken for so long, and now I'm putting my foot down." It's a direct rejection of the vlogging life, the public performance that defined her childhood.
So the daughter sees anonymity as healing, the father, while he still seems to be using the public stage for his recovery narrative. It's quite a contrast.
A stark contrast. And that brings us back to the fiancée, Becca Bevan. Her role in this is actually pretty critical.
Because she's essentially unknown in this context, right? A blank slate, as some have called her.
Exactly. She has no apparent connection to the whole 8 passengers world or the connections sphere. If Kevin had gotten engaged to someone within that community, can you imagine the scrutiny?
Oh, it would have been intense. So her obscurity is almost strategic.
It feels that way. It allows him to attempt this clean break. We know very little about her. Kevin describes her glowingly, of course. Some online sleuthing suggests a Rebecca Bevan, who might work in PR, maybe for Crumble Cookies nearby in Utah, described as fun-loving, energetic.
A PR background. Interesting, given how much this engagement feels like a public relations move itself.
Right. But ultimately, her main function in his narrative is to represent possibility, a future untied to the Franco family baggage. She makes the fresh start look possible, at least.
So summing this up, Kevin Franke's engagement is definitely a personal step, maybe an attempt at finding happiness, but it's impossible to separate it from a very calculated public relations strategy.
And that redemption he's claiming, it's still very much up for debate. The public seems to be demanding more accountability for the past before they're willing to accept his narrative of a clean future.
The real test, I guess, isn't going to be the wedding photos.
No. It's going to be how he parents those 4 children moving forward, how he supports their healing after everything they endured. That's the measure.
Yeah.
Can he shift from public performance to genuine private accountability?
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Even after such immense trauma, is the pull of public validation just too strong for some? Does needing to perform happiness publicly undermine the claim to have actually found it privately?
It's a heavy question. And if you found this deep dive into the Frank saga and this battle over narrative compelling, definitely make sure you subscribe. We'll keep tracking stories like this.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.